Coming on out here on a cold and gray January day. But it is warm in here. People are fired up. They're excited because you know what? We got the best candidate in the race, and we together will elect the next governor of Virginia. You know, a lot of people in this room have worked in a lot of campaigns and put a lot of W's up there. And we all know it's not about endorsements. You don't win campaigns with endorsements. You win campaigns with work. And we have a room full of workers here. People who know how to get the job done, who know how to win campaigns, and to put Virginia back on the right path. I want to acknowledge a handful of folks, some good friends. Dennis Free here, the 2nd District Chairman. My man Alex Ray. Sam Boone. And I have the great honor to introduce a friend of mine, someone I've worked in the trenches with for quite a period of time, someone who's an entrepreneur, who's living the American dream, and who is also celebrating a national championship for his alma mater, James Madison University. Your delegate, Jason Maris. How are y'all? Are you ready to win? Yeah. Are you ready to win? Yeah.
It is an honor to be here. It's been quite a journey. I remember in December of 2014, sitting with Ed Gillespie and telling him, I think you should run for governor. And if you do, I'm going to stand with you. And part of what I've always loved about Ed is we win as conservatives and we win as Republicans when we run on big ideas. And I will tell you, serving up in the General Assembly, we need some big ideas and some new ideas in Richmond. I had to sit through Wednesday night. It was like going to the dentist. The State of the Commonwealth address. And, our esteemed Governor Terry McAuliffe said "I" about 70 plus times. And according to him, everything's great in Virginia. According to Terry McAuliffe, people are back to work. According to Terry McAuliffe, Obamacare is not just great, we need to expand it. And according to Terry McAuliffe, our schools and our roads are fantastic. And I was sitting there thinking through this hour-long speech, boy, do we need new leadership. And boy, is what he describing not what I hear, and I know what Ed Gillespie hears out on the trail. I'm hearing the parents that are facing double-digit increases in their college tuition. They don't know how they're going to pay their school bills for the kids. You're talking to the moms that are working 2 part-time jobs that have been looking for full-time work for 3 years. Talking to the folks that are getting near retirement and they're worried with property taxes and regulation, everything else taking their retirement away. The Virginia right now that Terry McAuliffe inherited at the time was the best state in the entire country to do business. Now we're not even in the top 10. The state that he inherited had fast economic growth, and now he sends out press releases celebrating if we get 1% economic growth in this state. Virginians are desperate for new leadership. And what Ed Gillespie is, he's an ideas candidate. He's talked about, hey, let's not just replace Obamacare, let's replace Obamacare with a patient-centered program that puts patient first, not government. Let's reform our tax code and get out of a 20th century tax code and put it in line for a 21st century economy. Let's tackle the regulatory state that's strangling the life out of Virginia's small businesses and entrepreneurs. We win as conservatives when we have big ideas, and Ed Gillespie is that big idea conservative. So Ed, I'm going to tell you something I didn't tell you back in December of 2014. Virginia needs you. And thank you for answering the call. Thank you for coming down to what I call the most beautiful sunsets anywhere in the Commonwealth and the country, Virginia Beach, Virginia. My friends, give a great, warm, heart-filled coastal Virginia welcome to my dear friend, Ed Gillespie.
so many friends. Jason, thank you for that incredibly kind introduction. Thank you for bringing Gabriella with you here today as well. And but more important than that kind introduction, thank you for your friendship. And more important than that, thank you for your strong leadership in our General Assembly. No one has hit the ground running the way Jason Mieres has for his constituents, and he is a very effective Pete, thank you for that kind introduction of Jason and for being here and being on our tour all day today. And thank you for your friendship. Kathy and I treasure it. But most important, thank you for being the best chairman a campaign could possibly have. Thank you for your leadership. It is a great team, and all of you are part of that team, and Kathy and I are thrilled to be with you here today on this announcement tour. We'll be back many, many times, as we've been before, because this is such a critically important area to winning the governorship of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we are going to win the governorship of the Commonwealth of Virginia this year. We're not just going to win back the governorship. I will lead a unified ticket that will sweep all 3 statewide offices in November. I can feel the momentum everywhere we go. This is the year that Virginia Republicans start winning again here, and we're going to do that by running a very hard-working campaign, as Jason said, on ideas and our principles and our policies. You know, poor Terry McAuliffe. Just 2 months ago, his bags were all packed. They were at the foot of his bed. He was ready to leave Richmond for the Clinton administration. He was going to be secretary of something or ambassador to somewhere. And now we're stuck with him, and he's stuck with us. But not for much longer, because in November, Terry McAuliffe, Ralph Northam, and Mark Herring, we're going to send them all packing. And we're going to take over. And we are going to put an end to their failed policies and to the anemic economic growth that results from them. You know, our economic growth in 2015 was a lousy 2%. And that was the first time in 5 years it got above 1%. In fact, the year before that, we were 48th out of 50 states in economic growth. Virginia. And that is just infuriating. With our vast natural resources, our fertile lands, our port, our people, our great colleges and universities, our natural beauty, historic landmarks, and our location, when it comes to economic growth, Virginia should be first in the nation, and we can be, with conservative policies based on our constitutional principles of limited effective government. Lower taxes, fewer regulations, a modern education system that meets the workforce needs of today and of the future. Those are the policies that will get Virginia growing again. The fact is, these policies would make us a more business-friendly state, which we need to be. As Jason mentioned, just 5 years ago, on the CNBC list of best states to do business, we were #1. And on the Terry McAuliffe, Ralph Northam watch, we have dropped out of the top 10, most recently from number 12 to number 13. We've been swapping out high-paying jobs for low-paying jobs for a decade now. We've shed 69,000 manufacturing jobs in Virginia, many of them here in Hampton Roads. And that's one of the reasons that we have this $1.2 billion revenue shortfall in Richmond, because we're getting less income tax revenue from lower incomes. And the fact is, our last year, our labor force participation rate hit a 10-year low. Too many Virginians are working part-time instead of full-time when they want to work full-time. And too many mothers and fathers in Virginia are working in jobs that are the kind of jobs their sons and daughters used to be working in. We've got to get our economy going and create good-paying jobs again. Too many Virginians feel the promise of Virginia is starting to fade. Now, a lot of the headwinds that we face here, they blow in from our north. from Washington, D.C. But I am confident, as I know all of you are, and excited that with a new Trump administration and a Republican Congress, those headwinds can become tailwinds. Governor, I will work to get the Trump administration and the Republican Congress to change our policies, to stop the war on coal in Southwest Virginia, make sure we get more of our transportation dollars back into Virginia and spend it as we see fit so that we can ease congestion and build new infrastructure projects. Make sure that Norfolk remains the largest naval base in the world, and that we lift the ban on development of our oil and gas off of our deep sea coast. But one thing that's very clear to us right now, we cannot count on Washington, D.C. to solve our problems here in Virginia. We've got to come forward with our own solutions, and I will do that. You know, we have talked for decades about the need to diversify our economy, to be less reliant on military spending here in Hampton Roads, less reliant on federal contracts in Northern Virginia, on coal in Southwest Virginia. Friends, that time is upon us. It is here, and it is now. And if our next governor does not respond with a sense of urgency to the challenges we face as a Commonwealth, we will fail our fellow Virginians. I have that sense of urgency, and I will not fail us. We are going to do the policies and put forward the policies that we need. And if I am entrusted with the governorship of the Commonwealth we love, I will be an honest, ethical, hardworking, principled, conservative servant leader worthy of Virginia. And we could use one of those right about now. So in this campaign, I'm going to put forward a plan to get us growing again, and part of that plan will be modernizing our tax code and cutting taxes on families and small business owners and entrepreneurs while eliminating tax credits and government subsidies that pick winners and losers. For too long now, our economic development policies have been focused on what I call corporate whale hunting, taking our tax dollars and trying to lure a Fortune 500 company to move a headquarters here or open a plant here. I'm all for a Fortune 500 company moving a headquarters here and opening a plant here, and I'll be a relentless marketer of Virginia all across the country and all across the globe. But we've got to foster natural organic growth. Just writing checks to big companies to move to Virginia cannot be the singular focus of our job creation policies. Remember the time Ralph Northam's VEDP squandered 1.4 million taxpayer dollars on a Chinese company with a fake website? What we need to do is we need to make it easier to foster entrepreneurship and small business formation. I grew up in a small business, a mom and pop grocery store, the J&C Market. J&C were Jack and Connie, mom and pop. And in my family, when you turned 12 years old, you got a birthday cake and a present and a 4-hour shift at the JC Market. You know, I learned there a valuable work ethic. Stocking those shelves and sweeping the floors and waiting on customers, and that work ethic has served me well all my life. And I inherited from my parents an entrepreneurial spirit that's led me to start 3 successful small businesses of my own. Kathy and I know what it's like to put our house down as the collateral on a loan that you use to meet payroll and pay the rent for the first year that you've opened your doors. I understand the risks entrepreneurs take, and I understand the challenges they face, and my policies will make it easier to take those risks and to meet those challenges. You know, liberals like Ralph Northam and Tom Perriello, they're going to say, well, you can't cut taxes when we've got a $1.2 billion revenue shortfall. And we know that the fact is we are not going to eliminate that revenue shortfall by raising taxes on hardworking Virginians and shrinking their paychecks. That's right. We're going to eliminate that shortfall by getting more Virginians back to work in good-paying jobs and shrinking the size and scope of government. That's the way to do it. And in addition to cutting taxes, we have got to repeal antiquated regulations and streamline our regulatory processes. Our current policies create too many barriers to entry. They protect too often existing businesses, and often big ones at that, at the expense of startups. And so cutting and reforming taxes and regulations will help foster small business creation and job creation. But without education reforms, we won't have the workforce we need to meet the demands for high-skilled and highly educated workers. And so we've got to reform our education system as well. You know, we are blessed here with some of the oldest and best institutions of higher education in the whole world. But the fact is, constant tuition hikes and rampant spending are making colleges and universities too unaffordable for too many Virginians. And we have to fix that. Virginia's public colleges and universities and the boards that oversee them, all of those people appointed by the governor, must be responsive to the needs of students and parents and taxpayers, and less responsive to the needs of faculties and administrations.
Here, here.
And that means granting the kinds of degrees that result in good paying jobs when our students graduate. But we also have to reform our elementary and high schools as well, and middle schools, and that means giving parents greater control over our children's education. Little competition goes a long way, and it'll make our public schools better and more responsive also to the needs of parents and students. I know we all believe here, and we know that the proper role of government is not to guarantee equality of outcomes, but to guarantee equality of opportunity. And if you believe that, as we all do, then you have to do everything in your power to make sure that every child in Virginia has access to a good, safe, quality public school. And that's what our policies will do, will result in that kind of equality of opportunity. Now, these changes and others will help get our economy going again, restart it, and restore Virginia's leadership. I'm going to put forward a positive agenda that we can all unify behind, and that a majority of our fellow Virginians will embrace. And I learned the value of that back in 1994 when I was a principal author of the Contract with America, when Republicans won control of the U.S. House of Representatives for the first time in 40 years and balanced the federal budget for the first time in 25 years. And I know that we can put forward a positive agenda next year and run on it, and then when we win, deliver on our promises, because we'll have a mandate to govern. And I will stand for timeless principles and fundamental freedoms. Our Second Amendment right, individual right to keep and bear arms. First Amendment freedom of religion. And I will stand for the protection of innocent human life as our governor. I'll be a compassionate executive who is one who will give felons who pay their debt to society a second chance. But I will put an end to the Terry McAuliffe, Ralph Northam policy of a rolling blanket restoration of rights to all felons, including the most violent and repeat offenders. That has to stop, but we can be compassionate and restore rights to felons on an individualized basis. And unlike a Democrat governor, I will not make a priority of trying to repeal our common sense voter ID laws that protect legal voters and try to pass a bill that would issue new driver's licenses and state IDs to those who are here illegally. That doesn't make sense, and yet that is the priority we get from the Democrats. Given all the challenges we've just talked about, those are their priorities. It's clear we can't afford 4 more years of a liberal governor in Virginia. So we got a choice. We can continue to limp along with a stagnant economy and shedding jobs and lagging behind other states, or we can reform our policies, change the tired way of doing things, and make sure that we keep the promise of Virginia alive, where every child has a quality education and can attend and has access to an affordable college or university, where we lead in technology, innovation, and advanced manufacturing, and we're producing high-paying jobs in a thriving energy sector, and our port is the biggest on the East Coast. And where where Virginians have faith in their elected leaders and our government is more transparent. We'll have a dynamic economy that creates jobs, raises take-home pay, helps people lift themselves out of poverty, and provides a path of economic opportunity and upward mobility for all Virginians. And I just, in closing, will share with you why that is so important to me and why I'm so passionate about it. You see, my father is an immigrant to this country. He was brought here as a boy from Ireland at the age of 8 because his father, my grandfather, found work in America as a janitor. And he was a night janitor at a big bank building in Philadelphia. He'd go in after it closed at 6 o'clock at night, and he'd start on the ground floor emptying the waste baskets and mopping the floors. And over the course of an 8-hour shift, he worked his way to the top story, and the last thing he would do would be to polish the big wooden conference table in the boardroom. Get home around 2:30 in the morning on a bus. My parents never went to college, two of the smartest people I have ever known. And they insisted that I do, and I took out student loans and I worked my way through school at the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. in a lot of different jobs. I waited tables, I tended bar, I washed dishes. And one of my jobs was as a Senate parking lot attendant, parking the cars for the staff that work in the big office buildings on Capitol Hill. And that job led to a desk job inside one of those buildings, which led to another job. And I eventually worked my way up to being counselor to the President of the United States of America. From immigrant janitor to West Wing of the White House in 2 generations' time. What a country. My father left a country where if you were born poor, you died poor. Simple as that. For something completely different. America. America. Where we start out. Where we start out in life does not determine where we end up. America has always been a land of opportunity, and Virginia and Virginians have always been at the forefront of that ideal, and we need to put Virginia in the lead again. That cannot be our past, it has to be our future. And I will get us back on track. I know that our shared conservative principles will make things better for all Virginians, and I will be a governor for all Virginians. And I will take this campaign to all Virginians. And I know that our message resonates everywhere in the Commonwealth. And so I want to thank you. I promise you, I will not be outworked in this election. We are going to win this race with all of you by our side. The mighty, mighty G-Force is a force to be reckoned with, and it's growing every day, and Kathy and I are so thrilled to have you as part of that team. I will fight for us, and we need you to fight for me so that we can win this race to turn things around in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And together, we will win in November. We will sweep all 3 statewide races. We will get back the governorship of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank you all for being here today. God bless you, God bless the United States of America, and God bless the Commonwealth of Virginia.